Hey there, and welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. My name is Pete, and today we complete another episode of this Honor Mode walkthrough with our Dark Urge Halfling Bard, Sylvia Hairyfoot. Last time we left off, after traveling to the sunlit wetlands, quickly discovered that their beauty was just an illusion put in place by Auntie Ethel, who is apparently a hag living in a small cabin, and currently holding a girl named Mayrina, whose brothers were already killed by Ethel in an attempt to free their sister. So, sounds like the perfect woman to make a deal with. A trade deal, that is.
Hello, sweetness. You going to give me one of those precious peepers?
We sell off all of our junk items and minor valuables to obtain over 500 gold, and then we want to speak to Ethel again, this time using Gale, who has joined the party in place of Shadowheart.
Hello, sweetness. You going to give me one of those precious peepers?
With Gale, we are now asked about Ethel's offer to remove the tadpole once more, and he has a unique wizard option here since he knows about the Hag Eye spell and can now confront Ethel about it.
Ah, not many know that spell. You're close, but not quite right. Your eyeball is staying in your head, although it would look delightful on a necklace.
Right, now after careful deliberation, I have decided that we are going to take the deal with Gale, but yes, I would agree that it probably doesn't make the most sense from a role-playing perspective, but Gale is arguably one of the characters most likely to be intrigued despite it all. Additionally, this is supposed to be a completionist playthrough, and I just want to show you what happens, as it does actually drive the game's main plot forward a little bit.
Glorious. One moment. Auntie needs her real nails for this.
Much better. That human skin is fierce restrictive.
Right, no surprise then to see Ethel transform into her true hag form, a form that Gale can also comment on as a wizard, showing himself entirely unimpressed.
Thank you, Petal. It is so lovely to be appreciated. Magic is the lifeblood of hags, and I'm one of the best. Now choose, which eye will it be, right or left?
This is a decision that absolutely makes no difference. Let's go with the left eye.
Hold on to your knickers. This might sting a bit. No, that wasn't so bad, was it?
And let's be the judge of that ourselves and check if our eye is still there.
That color suits you. No, unless you want tentacles for a tongue, stay absolutely still. I've removed one of these buggers before, but it's a touch tricky.
The parasite squirms at the hag's words. Pain builds behind your eye. You feel the creature writhe as it's dragged towards your ear. Then it bites back, burrowing even deeper into your brain.
Goddamn wretched! You little shit! You didn't tell me it was Netherese. I'm not touching that!
So, a Netherese tadpole? What exactly does that mean? And could it explain why our Mind Flayer transformation has not yet set in?
Filthy shadow magic brings nothing but chains and misery. How could I have missed that stink? Like blood and piss congealing on my tongue. Someone's tampered with your parasite. That's likely why you've not turned yet.
So, tampered with, that's new, but could explain our situation. The question then is, who did the tampering?
Bless us. You're as slow as a wet week. That thing has been touched by more than mind flayers. You're a dead soul walking. I can't help you.
Well, that does come a little late, considering our part of the bargain was held up. So what about the eye?
What about it? I held up my end of the bargain. It's not my fault the Ricklet's tainted by shadow magic. I want nothing to do with you or that scum in your brain.
Right, we should probably remind her that this was not exactly what we agreed upon. Then again, it is no surprise that a deal with a hag did not go as planned.
You're bloody right it wasn't. I agreed to remove an illicit spawn. That thing is an abomination. But let it not be said that Auntie Ethel doesn't honor her debts. Here, it's on you to fix yourself. Now get out!
Combine it with mind flayers and it's unspeakable.
Where is she gone, I wonder?
Well, that question we can answer if we look at the fireplace here, which seems to have a passage leading into an area behind it. Also, keep in mind that Ethel has now shown numerous times that she can just vanish in the blink of an eye. Regarding Gale, the procedure involving his eye has now left him with a permanent paid-the-price condition, a +1 bonus to intimidation checks, but disadvantage on perception and on attacking hags. The perception thing is really the biggest downside, and it is why Gale was chosen for this. Apart from the narrative reasons, mechanically Gale is also the least affected by the changes with a wisdom score of 10, and therefore bad perception anyway. To make up for this, Ethel gave us a charm, essentially the enhance ability spell, as a one-use item that can give us advantage on ability checks of a chosen type until the next long rest. Decent, but probably not entirely adequate compensation for what Gale went through. So it's a good thing that by taking Ethel's deal and letting the scene play out, we triggered her to leave her hut and venture deeper into the hideout, leaving us to loot the place in peace. Otherwise, she would just wander around in here, and we would have to carefully stealth around her to pick up the valuables, which, unsurprisingly I think, includes several potions, food items, alchemy ingredients, and other equipment for the brewing of potions and poisons, including the simple poison recipe. One thing that I also want to mention here, as we pick up a very valuable speed potion, is the fact that even if you know about Ethel's true identity, decide not to take her deal and want to go one step further and eliminate her, attacking her inside the house is perhaps not the best idea for two reasons. First, if the redcaps that we took out last episode are still alive, Ethel can summon them into her hut to help her, making it an incredibly difficult encounter. However, even if the redcaps are already dead, as they are in our case, Ethel will not engage in a lengthy fight in this area and instead flee into her hideout after being attacked, unless you can somehow take her down in a single turn or otherwise prevent her from moving. If that is not the case, then she will later show up again with all her health replenished, so any progress you make by attacking her here will be null and void. So unless you employ some barrel-mancy cheese tactics, it might be better to just let Ethel be and follow her, even if it means picking a fight on her terms. Now, back to the action at hand. As you can see, there is plenty to pick up around the huts, and again, Ethel no longer hanging around makes this part a lot less stressful. I also want to point out that we found a note a moment ago, outside on the table, signed with the letter M, and M seems to be someone with some sort of affiliation with Ethel, maybe another hag operating out of Baldur's Gate. In any case, what little we know of this name is worth keeping in mind. At this point, we have now also thoroughly ransacked the place, and can follow Ethel through the fireplace, as we earn 120 XP for discovering this secret entrance. Down in an overgrown tunnel, then, we earn a further 20 XP, but our exploring is interrupted by Gale, who seems to be suffering from arcane hunger once more.
My condition is worsening again. I need to consume some powerful magic or it may become volatile.
And of course, we will give him another one of our precious magical artifacts. I think we can safely part with the spurred band. Going below half health is something I'd like to avoid anyway, and momentum for one turn is not a huge boost either.
Thank you. It is a strange experience. Each time anew, like a lost soul is spelunking through the darkness that is me, only to be sacrificed on the dread altar of the heart. Somehow the second artifact hasn't had the effect of the first. It's somewhat relieved the discomfort, but I fear my hunger hasn't quite...
Now this is different than the last time, and Gale seems to be in pain still, so what is wrong?
The magic isn't having the effect it should have. It's not like the last time, like a rainstorm that quells a forest fire. It merely drizzles. The embers still sizzle, the fire remains undefeated. I'm not certain what's going on, but nothing good. Please, I need to think. I need to retrace my steps to a glade of calm and think. Thank you for the artifact. A great deal of trouble it was too. A great deal of trouble indeed.
Okay, now that solves the problem for the time being at least, so let us head deeper into the tunnel, picking up some mushrooms along the way.
You are as thick as they come, sweetness. This is my personal playhouse, and you don't have an invite. Get out!
Alright, there she is, popping up out of nowhere again, but we're not leaving until we've dealt with the whole Mayrina business.
Has that wriggler eaten your brain already? Leave. Or you'll end up in tonight's stew. You'll go nicely with Mayrina. She's already marinating. Ah!
Right, sounds like Ethel is showing her true colors more and more here. And speaking of stew...
No, thanks.
Yeah, I don't want to know what's in there. Ethel has also put a few of her clients on display in this room.
What's that?
Let's investigate those poor victims.
As you edge closer to the mirror, a pale face appears, contorted in fear. Fists slam against the mirror's surface again and again.
My sweet Callum, whose beloved asked that his beauty never fade.
And so the skull is propped up in front of the mirror, inside of which the soul is apparently trapped.
My darling Magrin, she wished for the mind of a genius, but the silly head crushed me.
And now she carries her head in her hands, maybe for all eternity.
This poor dear wished never to lay eyes on her family again.
And so the eye was removed and put on a wooden stake. The body, meanwhile, is definitely dead and can be looted and also spoken to.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
So, to get things started, let's learn about why she went to visit Ethel in the first place.
My family took her, my baby girl, pretending she never existed. Told Ethel never wanted to see them again. She took my eyes.
And why did her family take the child? That seems awfully drastic.
They didn't like me having something they couldn't touch.
Right, to business then. Is there anything she can tell us about Ethel that might help us?
Doesn't matter. Nothing matters without baby girl.
Well, that's not very helpful. So how about this tunnel then? Anything we should pay attention to? Yeah, I'm afraid we can't do that. So instead, let's move on to the next victim.
My dearest Ephraim, he begged me to halt the deadly disease that ravaged him.
And so Ethel petrified him, and this is important to note, because petrified means that the person is technically still alive. And while we could perhaps find a way to remove this condition, for now we just want to keep going.
Away! Away!
You feel crushing waves of fear as the presence within the door recoils. It can't let people through, not again.
Right, not our first encounter with a more or less sentient door. Let's find out more about this one's history.
Images flash. A man cowering, a bag open at his feet. Gold coins spilling onto the floor. His cries for mercy are cut short as the hag slices into him, dismembering him painstakingly, limb by limb. She cackles, the man's remaining flesh twisted and contorted, becoming the twisted surface of the door before you. Flee, you feel it cry.
In that case, it is understandable that it is hesitant to open for us, but we really need to go through. Perhaps we can convince it that we can defeat Ethel.
A scene appears in your mind. 2 paladins and a cleric marching through the door, shrouded in the glow of the divine. Weapons brandished, they charge into the hag's lair. Screams of terror pierce the air.
You let them in? Naughty. That's a decade for each. You're mine for 30 more years, petal.
They are left as scabs of life, while she spits on the beauty their death would sow.
Alright then, no need to keep pressing. Maybe we can find an alternate path. Is there any other way in?
You see an image of blue skies and sunshine as the door shudders a warning. Run.
Now, we failed the Arcana check here, but don't worry. We can get to the same results with the Intimidation or Persuasion checks, and of course we'll attempt the latter. With the Silver Pendant on Gale, we are pretty much guaranteed success.
You see the hag. She walks through the door, its form shimmering. The lightest touch of hope brushes your mind as the presence within retreats.
So, the door just another illusion. We could have found that out ourselves, but before we go through, let's hear from Ethel.
A thief who tried to steal from Auntie. Now the good little pet guards my home.
Certainly a cruel punishment, but not the last we encounter.
Stop, please. My gentle Lauren. He wished to know what was to come.
No, no! Don't look! Mustn't look, mustn't see!
Right, now he's obviously not alright, so we can save ourselves that question. Instead, let's find out more about his condition and what he cannot look at.
I see it! I see what's to come.
You realize there's magic at work. Some type of spell. An illusion.
Me. Dead. Dead! Flesh rotten, bone shining!
Now, it might very well be that we're the first people to come across him since Ethel afflicted him with this condition, so perhaps we can convince him that he's not seeing real things.
Lies! Lies! I see it! See truth, see death! All future!
Admittedly, that does sound intriguing, so what does our future hold?
Always asked. Never good. Never see. Never. Gods, don't hurt me. Oh, please, 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 please.
Now, as a Dark Urge, this reaction is probably less surprising than it should be. Still, why would he get the idea that we'd hurt him?
Monster! Monster! For mind dripping, flesh peeling, mind flayer!
Right, that whole business, how could we forget? But we're not a mind flayer yet. And there is an option here to roar at him for a small approval bonus from Astarion. It does feel pretty mean though, so let us instead just reiterate our point. No mind flayer here, if we can help it.
No! No! Mind flayer! Get away! Get away!
No intention of letting that happen.
Don't look. Don't!
Now, just in case you fail the entire ordeal with the gnarled door, there are these whispering masks on the table nearby. They look ominous, and their item description isn't any better, speaking of unintelligible whispers coming from the mask. Still, we want to try one on, but before we do, let us use one of our numerous scrolls of protection from evil and good and cast it on Sylvia. Then we equip the mask.
Hello, Petal. My, the mask suits you. Just relax. See the world with fresh eyes. And let your dear old Auntie Ethel look after you.
Alright, now immediately upon putting the mask on, we can now see through the invisible door. However, we also immediately start making wisdom saving throws against Ethel's influence. If we were to fail, Sylvia would come under Ethel's control and turn on the rest of the party. That is, if we hadn't protected her against the effect with the spell we just cast earlier. So, regardless of the save, we can now keep wearing the mask indefinitely and scout ahead into the next area.
They're not attacking. Must think I'm one of them.
Sylvia comments on the presence of others before we can see them, but there they are, several figures all wearing similar masks. Now, one would have to assume that they were not so smart and are under Ethel's control. However, as long as Sylvia wears the mask, they will not attack us, and we can loot the place. There's not much here though, just a few mushrooms, a pouch in the southeastern corner, and a wicker chest near the northwestern exit. That exit leads through a waterfall, and jumping through here officially triggers an inspiration for Astarion for having peacefully circumvented these masked thralls. Unfortunately, that is not the plan for today, since we would need to cast the protection spell on all other party members to get them to join us here safely, so instead we simply regroup shortly behind the gnarled door, take the mask off of Sylvia, and then prepare for combat. We want to wait until all three masks up here have their backs turned to us, and then we want to enter turn-based mode to ensure they stay that way, while we have our entire party stealth dash up onto the little patch of high ground here. Once everyone is in position, we can exit turn-based mode again, because no matter where they move now, if we stay back far enough, none of them can spot us up here. Once more then, we wait until they are in the right position, with their backs turned to us. Once they are, we move up a few steps with Astarion, and enter turn-based mode once more to begin our ambush. And we start off with the Mask of Vengeance here, a melee enemy with 36 hit points, and the target of Astarion's opening sneak attack. He deals 22 points of damage, we gain surprise, and since the sneak attack happened before combat started, he can now go again. From stealth, the offhand strike against the Mask of Regret up here will also benefit from the sneak attack bonus. A lucky critical hit then deals 14 damage, that's lovely. Let's follow up with Karlach, who absolutely needs to target the Mask of Terror behind the stone pillar here. No one else can reach it from their current position, and this is an archer, so we need to make sure they go down early. Since Sylvia is still hidden and has not entered the initiative yet, we can carefully move her up into a better position. High ground in the middle of the battlefield sounds great, just at the top of the vines here for a slashing flourish against the Mask of Vengeance. With another critical, she takes the first enemy out. The order of targets here mostly depends on their position in the initiative, by the way. And since Sylvia is now invisible, she can drop back down and move into range against the Mask of Terror. That's why I kept her right by the vines and not any further, so she still has enough movement left to get in range. Up next, we then bring Gale into the fight, taking the high ground in the middle of the area, but not for the aim bonus, simply to cover the largest possible area with magic missile. And to make sure, we send all 3 bolts against the Mask of Terror. This takes out enemy number 2, and at this point we can now end our turn.
I'll break their pretty little bones.
Now, importantly, just like Sylvia earlier, the masks here need to make saving throws, and if they succeed, they will not become hostile for one turn. We may or may not factor that into our next decisions, put Karlach into a frenzy and bring Shovel into the mix. She's been camping way back by the door, out of combat, and can now deliver a sneaky strike against the Mask of Regret here. 4 points of damage, that's nice, and makes the job easier, as round 2 now begins with another first level magic missile from Gale, 2 projectiles against the Mask of Regret, 1 against the Mask of Servitude, who by the way serves as a healer for this group. This brings the Mask of Regret down to 4 hit points, and at this point, switching to Astarion, we want to toggle non-lethal damage on and strike with his offhand. Now the first one misses, let's try again, that's why we have 2 bonus actions. And there we go, knocked out but not dead. This is very important for an inspiration we can earn later. However, we want to make sure not to take the mask off of the body just yet, all other items would be fine. Let's deal with the last enemy first though. The shot from Astarion deals 11 damage, leaving Sylvia to hopefully take care of the rest. And that's that. A total of 160 XP gained, and we can now quickly loot the bodies, beginning with this letter here, where the Mask of Servitude seemingly reminded themselves of Ethel's true nature, although it did not stop them from falling under her influence. And no, making the saves, unfortunately, is no solution to save the masks. Sooner or later they will go hostile, and the only way to avoid that becoming a problem is to take them out. The Mask of Regret is a special case, that's why we just knock them unconscious. Now, once all the valuables have been collected, we can once again jump through the waterfall, this time with our entire party, and notice that the path onwards is blocked by noxious fumes. But, once again, the Whispering Mask is our solution for this. Let's put it back on, and as Sylvia approaches, the fumes vanish automatically, and she also detects some traps without having to roll for it. That is very handy and opens up 2 pathways that we could take, but we do not want to climb down the ladder over here, as the fumes vanish as you approach them, but not if you do so from above. So, to avoid taking damage, let's follow the path in front of us, making sure that we have Sylvia at the front and keep the party close together. With our leader spotting all traps, the other party members will then step around them. To climb down the vines here then, we want to move Sylvia down last, so that she remains in place to keep the fumes at the top away. The downstairs platform is thankfully safe to stand on. If all of this sounds too tedious or confusing for you, you can also just cast Featherfall on the entire party and have them take one long leap down. However, doing it this way saves us some scrolls and spell slots. Eventually then we reach the bottom, however we do not want to walk through this gnarled archway here just yet. Instead we turn right, Sylvia at the front again, following a little path that bends northwards. If we move all the way to the end here, Sylvia's mask reveals another illusory door. Let's have Karlach go and jump through it to find a beautiful mushroom circle behind it. Just like the elevator in the Zentarim hideout, however, we will not use this travel device just yet. Instead, let's pocket the supplies near the door and regroup. And with all party members following Sylvia back down, we can now walk through the archway and into Ethel's ancient abode.
There, in the cage.
And indeed, over in the cage here, it is none other than Mayrina, just like Ethel said. The hag herself, meanwhile, is curiously absent, although, given what we've seen her do, she might also have employed her magic to conceal herself. And whether or not that's the case, what the future holds for Mayrina, and if and how we can manage to fight Ethel and keep our no damage taken streak alive, let's save the answers to all of those questions for the next episode. As much as I would love to show you what comes next, I have another 45 to 50 minutes or so already recorded. Completing the entire business with Ethel, Mayrina, and all the other minor figures involved in this part of the story does take a while, and I don't want to rush the aftermath or cut only that bit into a separate episode. So next time, we wrap things up here, I promise. Until then, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or become a channel member or Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.